Hello, welcome to LLG's Random But Real podcast, where you'll hear conversations about any and all things random with an entree, not a side dish, of mental health advocacy. I use my performance, communication, and literary art skills to bring awareness about mental health and other topics. Therefore, whether I'm singing, speaking, or writing, it is my desire that my words will be melodic, just like music to your ears. Welcome to LLG. That's me, Lisa L. Gilliam's Random But Real podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of LLG Random But Real, or LLG's Random But Real. I am your host, Lisa Gilliam, also known as One Singing Lady, and I am excited for a lot of different reasons, but excuse me. One of the things I do want to point out is that I've decided, since I've now become a published author, I'm going to spend some time promoting my book and trying to do book signings and things like that. And although I will still have the podcast, I'm not going to be recording consistent shows like I had been doing. So please make sure that you follow me on Spotify or Anchor or Apple Podcasts, Podvine, or Amazon Podcast, so that you'll know when I'm actually recording the next podcast. This one, although we're pre-recording, will be the final one of the consistent every other week podcast. But I have a guest on here that has known me since 8th grade, and I don't know how that's possible because I'm only in the 10th, but really, it's been about 35 years that we've known each other. I had to actually calculate it because I guess I was like 14 in the 8th grade. But he's my bro. His name is Edmond Hodge. Say hello to the people, Edmond.
Hello.
And so yes, I want to start. This is going to be a fun, jovial one, but we are going to talk about some of the things that you're doing. And then remember, it's a mental health podcast as well. So we also sprinkle some of that in there. Really is the entree. The mental health aspect is the entree. Everything else is sprinkled in. But do you want to tell people how we met, Edmund?
Uh, I think you did a good job in telling that we met in junior high school in homeroom. I leave the other stuff out. But
I
I
need
just
to tell the people. Like he almost got me in trouble, y'all. And we became
so I
friends.
you want me to tell it real? You want me to tell a story?
Yes, if you could tell it nicely, you can tell
Yeah, I'm gonna tell it nicely. I'm gonna tell it nicely. So I don't know. I can't remember exactly what happened, but I do remember.
the
I
apple.
made an obscene. I know the apple. I know the apple. I was talking about the background preceding to what I did. So I made an obscene gesture at you. I think I put the apple on your desk and I made an obscene gesture at you. And I think you chased me around the classroom or something. And then Miss Henderson told us to get out, go to the principal's office. And you was like, oh my, you was so mad. You was like, I'm gonna get in trouble. Da 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 da. And I don't know if you was crying or not, but I know you was
I
really
wasn't
upset.
crying, but I was mad. I was
Yeah,
mad
you was
because
really
I
upset.
didn't
Yeah, I
get
wasn't saying crying like that. I meant like crying. You know how when people get upset, they
Mhm,
sometimes they cry or they're that mad that they cry.
mhm.
So yeah, I think that was the beginning of a fruitful, almost 40-year relationship. I would say.
No pun. Even though it started, he took my apple, y'all. He did do all the other
Oh, it
stuff.
was your apple?
Yeah,
I
it was
didn't
my
even know.
apple.
I
And he
remember
just
the apple. I didn't
took
know
my
where it came
stuff.
from.
I did.
Oh,
I did chase him around the room. I
hey,
absolutely
look.
did. Uh-huh.
Look. It's crazy that you made me tell that story, right? So when my aunt's best friend died, um uh my aunt's best friend mom died. And so we were at the funeral and Miss what was the French teacher name? Not Miss Suarez, the
Corey.
other one.
No, I don't know the other one. I
The
haven't.
other one, Miss Suarez, I think was eighth and ninth, but it was one Miss, I can't remember her name. But anyway, she was sitting in a row in front of me with my aunt and my aunt's best friend. I didn't know that they all knew each other. So anyway, so she turned around, right? She was like, I didn't know Edmund was your nephew, blah, blah, blah. So then she laughing at me, and then she was like, she telling my aunt and them, she was like, man, he was always a good student. He was a really good student, but she was like, oh my God, he was so mischievous. And so you
Mm-hmm.
made me tell that story, and that made me think like I did used to do a lot of little stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so funny that she remembered that after all them years, she was like, "Man, I know." She was like, "Boy, you was something else. Work with you." And I was like, "Dang," but I had fun though. You know what I mean? School was fun.
He was a nerd, y'all. Low key nerd.
Yeah,
Um,
still am, still am, still am, still am. But that's a good.
absolutely. He's really smart, but you wouldn't know it because he does some stupid stuff.
Hey, listen. Since this part of this is mental health and health overall, I just read an article that was talking about the difference between here go my nerd shit, my geekiness. I just read an article that talked about what separates the super aging people from the people who don't age well. And one of the
Mhm.
things that they said is people that age well, they learn something every day. They always work in their mind. So, just for those out there, I'm not saying you have to be like me. I just enjoy was young, my mom used to buy me a lot of books. So I've always been a reader since elementary. I used to read books and books and books. My mom was like, "You finished?" But anyway, though, I do the crossword puzzles every day. Like, I just try to stay sharp. But the mental health, that's what made me think of it. Like, yo, you gotta stay working your brain, especially for those of us that's pushing the nifty. We getting up there. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And get
So
some exercise.
yes. So speaking of books, I gotta ask you, I'm put you on spot. Are you gonna read my book?
Of course I'm gonna read your book. Of
Okay.
course I'm gonna
Are you
read your
are you
book.
gonna be nice in your comments?
Yes, I'm learning as I get older to how to say things. Oh, what's crazy? Listen, is you man, you bringing up a lot. You making me think of a lot of stuff. Yes, I'm gonna be nice in the comments. So I'm learning how. I was just telling Tony. Tony is my wife, y'all. So we was talking, and it
You
was just
told
like
me.
I was doing my Bible study, right? So it talked about nothing unsavory should come out your mouth. And I got my mom used to say my mouth was gonna be the death of me. But anyway, so I'm reading it, and everything you say, everything you say should be uplifting to the people around you. So I was in Walmart maybe about 2-3 weeks ago, right?
Hmm.
So it was raining real bad outside, me and Tony. So I asked this lady, I had this garment, a piece of clothing. So I asked this worker there for a bag. And so like she gave me the third degree. Long story long, she gave me the third degree. She didn't want to give me the bag. Eventually, she ended up giving me the bag, but she was insinuating that, like, she was like, normally people pay first. I was like, Miss, do you not see that this card is wet? Why would I put this a piece of clothing in a wet cart, right? So now we going back and forth. I was like, man, can I just have a bag or what? You know what I mean? So she ended up giving me the bag, but like some words and stuff was exchanged, and like, I mean, I said, so I feel like I said, I don't feel like I said something that I shouldn't have said, and I wasn't proud that I said it. So, your tongue, and like you said, I'm gonna be graceful with my comments or whatever. So I had went back, I bought the lady a card after that, and I went back to the Walmart last week, but she was off. So this morning I got up real early and I was running my errands. So I went, and this Walmart like 30, 40, like 30, about a good 30 minutes from my house. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
I drove it, I walked in. Soon as I walked in, I went to her line. I went where she normally is, and she was smiling. She was like, "I remember you." And I told her I apologized to her, and I gave her the card. She was like, "Oh my God, that's so nice." She was like, "I was gonna shake your hand, but she was like, give me a hug." And so we hugged. But like, yeah, man, you gotta be. And I didn't feel good as a person, um, but it kind of it just rubbed me the wrong way. You know what I mean? And I don't want to say, I guess, I don't know, because we got a choice in everything we do, though. But like, that DC upbringing, like people used to say this to me in college all the time. Like when you grow up in our city, I guess we could tend to be a little bit aggressive, if you will. I don't like to use aggressive because aggressive have a negative connotation, and that's what they always do when they label people. Oh, he or she is aggressive, but we can have a smart mouth. Let me say it that way. So I said some things that I shouldn't have said, and so I apologize. I humbled myself, and I told her, I said, if you was on the outside looking in, you wouldn't know that I was a child of God by the way I acted and addressed you. So I just wanted to give apologize to her and give her a card because I did feel bad after I said the things that I said, and there was no reason for me to say it because of the way she acted. So you can't let the way other people act or treat you influence how you act or treat them.
That's very true. I'm glad that you learned that lesson. And I honestly, it doesn't really matter to me what people think about the book. Like it's out there, so the whole world could say. And there are going to be some people who are not proud. I mean, some of the things that I've done or am doing or was doing, whatever. So I'm not even really concerned about that. But you do want to know that people understand you. You know me probably longer than probably anybody I've even had on the show, but there's still things about me that you're going to learn. And so I look forward to people finding out really who I am and maybe finding out why I have such a dedication to mental health, mental awareness, wanting people to feel welcome because a lot of people won't take the time to do the research. And we didn't have Google when we were in eighth grade, right? But we have it now. And there's so many other search engines where you can find out things about mental health and forgiveness is a really good act of kindness, but actually it's an act of kindness to yourself. Because if you don't forgive, then it definitely affects you. The other person is going on about their business. So that's good to know that you did that. I did want to talk about there's a lot of different things I want to
So
talk
can I
about.
just say I
But
commend you on that? Can I say that? I just before you
um,
go on, I just wanted to say I commend you on learning yourself because I agree with you wholeheartedly. Like I commend you on writing a book. I commend you on your mental health journey because that's the number one thing. Like I use the analogy as a liar. If a person is a liar, habitual liar, or if they lie, that they have to be honest with is themselves. If you're not honest with yourself, you can't possibly be honest with me. You know what I mean? So that's the first step is being honest with yourself. And like you say, I don't think a lot of people, like you say, we didn't have Google and all of that, but I think a big problem honest with ourselves, and probably is because some of the things we know we did probably not on par. And I'm speaking um from a personal standpoint, until I was honest with myself, I wasn't able really to grow. You know what I mean? So, because you could say anything, the mouth says anything. You know what I mean? You got to go by a person's actions. So once I was honest with myself, I was able to be honest with other people. You know what I mean? But I had to, because you really lying to yourself. You know what I mean? You lying to
mhm,
yourself and you lying to God. You know what I mean?
right.
It's
Right.
so, but yeah, I just wanted to commend you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. So Evan and I had our ups and downs over the years, and this is random but real, and so it's no planned thing. Like maybe I might have a topic in mind, but we just speak with as God leads. And so there's been times, let's talk about friendship. Like he'll call me his best friend, but then I'll be like, but you don't treat me like a best friend. We argue like brothers and sisters for real, and that has been when we were younger, his fam and his sister, may she rest in peace, was like a sister to me too, Michelle, and him. I mean, she and his mom thought we were together because we used to talk on the phone every single night. Like after we used to see each other at school, I don't even know what we were talking about. What were we talking about?
Plenty and nothing. Plenty and nothing. I
Definitely
don't know
boys
either.
and girls. We would talk about relationships. We would talk about like you're right, any and nothing. Like I don't know what there was to talk about every single day to a person that you're not even interested in.
But
Just
back then
strictly platonic friends.
the three-way was in effect. So that we did what kids did. You be on the phone and probably some dude that I knew that you like, probably some girls or girls that you knew that I like, and you get on the phone, you get to talking, and then you like call so and so. You know what I mean? We just did kid
I
stuff.
think you did that a lot more. Remember, you actually got me in trouble with some friends. They don't even really rock with me no more because I was on the phone with you on three way.
I'm sure they still rock with you. That's
Nah,
like
they not
we
too
were
happy.
we were kids. I haven't talked to
We
that
were.
person. I haven't talked to that person in probably like 15 years. But the last time I talked to him, and like the last time I talked to him, they if I, I'm gonna say this, if they talk to me, I'm sure they talking to you. You know what I mean? So they probably have more reason not to talk to me than they do not to talk to you. So, but yeah, I don't think that's old news. You know what I mean? That's yesterday's paper. So yeah, I think they, they still rock. They were cordial with me when I spoke with them. We used to have good little conversations. But me still being at that time, I still was mentally, I
Yeah,
still
you was
was immature in a lot
immature.
of phases of my life. So what that conversation probably was like.
Right.
I was it was Edmond being Edmond.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and they still talk to me after me doing saying and just me being me at that time. You know what that means.
Yeah, I do. I really do. So I know you were like, I don't really want to talk about this. So y'all, if you've ever seen my Coolidge high school hoodies or you've seen my Virginia Union, I just posted that last week. This is the dude that actually creates those things for me. Well, I don't know if he creates them for me, but I do purchase them from him. And even my one singing lady shirts at first, the Evan was the person who created them. And so, I mean, you got to like at least talk about your business really quickly.
Uh,
Um,
I did create those, so I do custom hoodies. Those were custom made. Those were one of ones. Basically, I used to teach. I taught for like 10, 12, 14 years. I was an English teacher. So in my last few years, I realized that I didn't want to really teach anymore. The education had changed. So I started my last 2 years of teaching. I started buying all the equipment. To start a t-shirt business, and I started it in 2014. It was known as District Clothing. I still go by that moniker, but have other names as well, monikers that I use. But District Clothing, that's what most people know me for. Stay tuned because I got some other things in the works. But basically, that's what we do. I was making a lot of stuff with representing the city, the DC flag, and other designs. I was doing a lot of custom. A lot of people know me, like Lisa said, for making the custom shirts. I did Union for you. I did Coolidge. So, I do a lot of custom
those are the
hoodies and
only two
shirts.
schools that matter, by the way, right? I'm just so you know, I gotta put that plug out
I
there.
can't
All the
say
other
that.
schools you do, you don't have to. I said it.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna shoot myself in the foot like that.
Oh
But
yeah, no, you definitely make it for everybody else, but the only two
so
that matter are Coolidge and Union. Okay, but
yeah,
continue.
so yeah, I make custom hoodies, like, and I pride myself on the difference between, because everybody I feel like now is making t-shirts and hoodies, because one, it's a low entry point business. It doesn't take a lot of money to start. But my niche is, I'm gonna make something that you're not gonna see everywhere. So that's what we pride ourselves in. Like, you're not gonna see my hoodies in the bookstore. It's not gonna be the same design. It's gonna be something different. It's just gonna be something different. So we pride ourselves on making something that that you're not gonna see everywhere, that everybody's not gonna have. So
The
I
only
guess that.
downside is that whenever I posted, then my peeps want it, and then now rack of my peeps got my stuff. That's the only downside. So I'm gonna have to keep it going. I was like, I did go to GW for grad school. I might need to get a GW hoodie too. Just
Oh,
keep it
okay.
going. But
I
I'll
don't think
see
I've
about
done a GW hoodie,
that. Oh, okay.
and
I
that's
gotta
strange.
do some more
And
dough
because
for
our
you.
friend went there, I was good. I don't think I never did a GW hoodie. I'm gonna have to
Uh,
do one.
I don't know which person you're
Say I
talking
did
about,
one.
but I don't have anything like yellow. Yellow and blue, I think are the colors. I don't
Hey,
know that
guess
I have
what?
what.
Guess what? God is
What?
so good. Yesterday, I got some boxes and some packages in, right? And guess
Mm-hmm.
what? I got a gold one, that Vegas gold. I could do you a GW hoodie. And look at, oh nope, you know what? I can't. I don't have the size in it. But I do got a navy one, and I do have a navy one. And I could
Okay.
put I could do we'll work it out
I
when I think
wait
of
till
what
I get
size.
some more dojo. I just was putting it out there. I was like, GW that is I don't have no GW stuff, so I probably need to probably do that in the future. However, that's neither the point. Are you going to tell people the name of the company that you're using now? I give them the email address, tell them how they can contact you if they're serious about getting hoodies. And my people's usually are pretty serious once they see your design.
Well, they can contact me at vanguardzone at gmail.com. And I feel like I've been working on this website for like 4 or 5 years since we started. And I actually did have one up, but it's funny because I was just talking to my wife today about going down for those of y'all who don't know, I live in Georgia now. So I was talking about, I wanted to go down to either Clock or Morehouse and get one of the kids to do my new website, because I figured I could put some money in, like, the college kids pocket real quick, to get them to help me design it or whatever. But Vanguard Zone at gmail.com is a way that you can reach me, or you can call me at 202-596-9189.
All right. Actually, while we talking, text both of those to me so I could put it on the show so that people can actually see it. Okay.
Okay.
Like, do that now while we talking.
I'm
Thank
doing it now. I just picked up my phone.
you. One thing both of us will say, like both of us will forget, is we've been trying to hook up for like just to do a show forever. Um, yep, and I might have a proposition for you after the show, so stay tuned. Maybe I will be back sooner than possible. We'll see. Um, so let's talk. When you talk about the, well, before we get to the next thing, starting a business, I know that couldn't have been necessarily the easiest. Evan has always been popular, y'all, so maybe it was easier for him. But I know a lot of people who go through some mental health challenges. When they, are they going to be successful? Are they going to be? One thing about Edmond, I've never ever uh it's always been amazing to see. Don't It doesn't matter what he does, he is almost like Midas. Like it does really touch the, like turn the gold. Like he's always been successful whatever he put his mind to, and it's been like that like as long as I've known him. So did you have any challenges like when you were making the transition from education and teaching in the classroom to starting your business?
Yeah. First of all, I want to say thank you for those nice comments. But yeah, man, it's I've had my share of challenges. The most challenge, I think, we got to get out of our own way. I'm my own worst enemy. But yeah, there were challenges. It's we're always skeptical. When you diving into something new, right? So
Mhm.
you're gonna have your doubts. You know what I mean? I think most people, and that's normal. But what I will tell you, if you having those doubts, that's a good thing, because whatever you about to partake in, or you think you whatever endeavor you think you're gonna look into or undergo, if it doesn't scare you, then it's the wrong endeavor. It ain't big enough. So I think those doubts, that skepticism, it's a positive thing. You know what I mean? So that means you're on the right path, because it's scaring you so big you don't know how you gonna pull it off. Um, those of y'all, I believe in God, I believe in frequency and vibration and things of that nature. So you believe he gonna see you, he's gonna see you through. Yeah, there was some challenges. I think the first thing you got to do is you got to be prepared. What I always tell people, I have a lot of friends in education and other industries that wanted to be entrepreneurs or started entrepreneurship. First thing I tell people is start whatever it is, whatever field you want to go into for entrepreneurship. Start while you on somebody else's dime. So while I was teaching, because while I was teaching, I was using my checks, money from my checks, to start getting my equipment. Unless you got a boatload full of money, if you got a boatload for the money, then this doesn't apply to you. But if you
Mhm.
don't, you want to still be on somebody's payroll and accumulate your things as you go along. So, like I said, my last 2 to 3 years, I already knew that this was the move I was going to make. So I started buying my equipment while I still had a job. I started being able to account for all my money. It gave me better money management. I guess the first thing I should say is you should have a plan. If you know that old saying, what is it? If you don't plan, if you don't plan,
Tend
you
to
plan to
fail, then
fail or
fail to
something. If
plan.
you fail to
Yeah.
plan, then you plan to fail. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I would say have a plan. You know what I mean? Reach out, get a mentor, talk to people who've done it. Start. It doesn't matter if they're in your field. It would be a plus if they were in the field that you're going into. But if not, talk to somebody who started a business. Get a mentor. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Stuff like that. But yeah, my challenges was just like skepticism. I didn't take accounting. So issues with accounting. I wouldn't per se say money management, because I pretty much, if you're serious, then you gonna want to account. Um, I guess not thinking that it's gonna happen overnight. It's not gonna happen overnight, but in years I built up clientele, and I'm not bragging, but like again, I don't have a website, so mostly everything I do is off of clientele, people I know who told people, I've met people. So we're doing pretty good not to have a website, just by word of mouth,
Pretty much.
so
Mhm.
just, and don't try to move too fast, you know what I mean? Scale up, don't but have a plan. That's the most important thing I can say. Have a plan. But my challenges were skepticism, not being an accountant. You got to stay on top of your money, and putting your money in the right places. What I mean by that, like, if let's just say if I like I told you I got some packages in yesterday, so I have to account for that money, those packages those packages that I paid money out for. I got to make sure when I make money that I replace that money. I put that money back. So money management is a key. Again, I don't think I really had too much struggles, but I think this is what a lot of us struggle with. The number one thing is we don't have no plan. We don't have no roadmap. So, but yeah, this it's always challenge. Oh, dealing with customers. You know the old adage, the customer's always right. That's true, but it's not true. Um, don't worry about when you lose challenges. I had a lot of people don't know this. I had a contract with a couple like with district schools, and it wasn't a pleasant experience. So it made me that was one challenge, man, because when you deal with governments and schools like that, people they control your money because it's like off of invoices, procurements and stuff like that. So I remember this one lady, I was dealing with this school manager or something, and she was cool. The people who referred me, everybody was cool, but the principal emailed me one night or called me late one night. I had never spoken to this lady, and so she sent me this nasty email, was talking, and I was just like, wow, why she send me this? So, and I had never dealt with her. So she was like, well, if I don't do this, I don't do that, then she not signing the invoice. She not going to push it through. Mind you, I had already spent money, made samples, gave them stuff. So now I'm really at her mercy, right? So, but it was a good thing. So some things that happen to us, even when they're not in our favor, they turn out to be the best thing for you. Everybody wants to be big. Everybody wants to get government contracts are good money. The district, I mean, that's good money. So why wouldn't I want that though? But that wasn't my lane. You know what I mean? So I had to, even though it happened, it was a good thing because I had to realize, look, that's not what I'm here to do for that. So it was a good learning lesson for me. I told them keep the stuff. You know how I am. I cut my ties, cut my losses quick. You know how I am. Opportunity. You guys can keep all the stuff that I already sent you. It was nice doing business with you. Have a great day. So me and the manager stayed cool. And that's don't burn bridges either. I stayed cool with everybody else, but that was that for me. And I was like, man, I never dealt with schools or the government again because that's not my lane at that particular time, and even now to deal with it. So sometimes take your losses or your setbacks. Just stay positive. Look at them in a positive light.
Right. Okay.
So I stop right there.
So speaking of challenges and remaining positive, we can't go forward without talking about relationships. So, and I know you have a wonderful one now. I love Tony too. I remember y'all. I'm gonna tell this story. One day I was not in a good place. I've been very honest about the diagnosis that I've had with depression, anxiety, PTSD, and although I don't deal with all of them for the most part at the same time, PTSD is still pretty prevalent, and so anxiety and depression sometimes are a part of those. And so one day I just wasn't having a great day. I was supposed to go. Shout out to my play brother Chris Dunlap, who does like the all black. He's a part of Next Level Entertainment. Does the all black affair, and he does like a lot of the summer parties, or they do, I should say, in the pink and white affair in the summer here in the city. And I was supposed to go somewhere in Southwest, I believe it was, to one of the parties, and I couldn't find any parking, and I really just didn't have the money. Struggled a lot with financial things. So it's always encouraging to hear Edmond's stories because it doesn't matter if he don't have any money, he finds it from somewhere. And I'll be like still looking for it. But God has still blessed me and inspired, sometimes because of him. But we were trying to find a place and I couldn't find a place. And I called Evan. I was like, just come on, just go with me. I do a lot of karaoke, and it was the Corner Lounge. They had karaoke there, and karaoke singing just always, cheers me up, whatever. And for whatever reason, Evan was being Mr. Do It Yourselfer that night, and he wanted to finish fixing up stuff because they were getting prepared to move away to Georgia, and so he was like, I asked Tony to go, and she had never heard me sing before. We had never actually hung out unless it was like with Edmund, and she went with me and met me there, and I was like, just we just had a good time, just like chilling, for a few minutes. Like she's never been first of all, if you see my height and Edmund's height, that's what was so funny. His family thought we were together because we would have like looked like twins, Arnie and Dan and DeVito, in the movie. There's never been any interest. It's always been platonic. A very unusual, I would say, friendship because you just wouldn't think. I don't know. We're so different. We come from different places, and yet we do have a lot, I guess, in common from the years or over the years. But anyway, so Tony met me there. We had fun. We chilled for a little bit, and I appreciated that more than she probably knows. I did thank her, and I thanked him too. Although he did push me off on his wife, he didn't want to hang with me. But Tony and I have, she's never, at least towards me, been like, "Ugh, Lisa." You know what I mean? Like, you know how some spouses are. They don't want. Did I know? I'm trying to think. Did I know her or know of her when y'all were dating? I can't remember. Do you remember?
I don't know.
It might have just been after you all got married. But anyway, because I mean I've gone through our years where we just don't speak as much, but we usually pick up wherever we left off. Um, and so, I've seen his evolution over the years, and he's listened to mine. And you'll find out more about this in this book. But what would you say to people who are looking to have, what you all have? Just, through whether it's through challenges, whether it's through, death, family members, or whether it's through blended families. Like there's a lot of different people who are really struggling with some of the things that you all been able to master. Any
So first of all,
encouragement?
I'm gonna say it's many moving parts, and I'm sure in every relationship, so many dynamics. So the first thing I'm gonna say is don't look to nobody else relationship for your relationship, because one thing it's always different when you're on the outside looking in.
Hmm.
We've had tremendous struggles, and the number one struggle I think, and this applies to any relationship, whether it's a I don't know how to label it, whether it's a friendship, a courtship, or whatever. Communication. For my money, somebody else might feel different, but for my money, the number one thing in any relationship that you have is communication. And you just alluded to the fact that sometimes we don't, or sometimes when we communicate, it's not good communication. We argue or something like that. So communication about words, man. Like communication is big for me. I think that's the number one thing about relationships. You gotta have communication, but don't look at somebody else. I'm gonna tell you what this older person told me one time. So I used to wonder. I'm like, Dad, how does somebody stay together for 20 and 50 years? Like her mom, and before her mom passed away, was married to her dad for like 51, 52 years. Her uncle, I mean, I think her aunt and uncle was married the same 50 plus years. My mom and my dad been married twice to each other. They got divorced, remarried each other, blah, blah, blah. So it's long-term relationships on my end as well. So I used to wonder, how do these people stay together like this? 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So an older person told me one time, and this changed my perspective on things. Every older person I've talked to was like, throughout them 20, 30, 40, 50 years, it's been a lot of stuff going on. And I've been told that either one, but more than likely, both of them have stepped outside of their relationship, meaning they cheated on each other, but they made a conscious decision to stay together. So they probably thought that they were not probably because they stayed together, but their pluses were minuses.
Hmm.
I just used to think, wow, people stay together, for so long. They got the picture perfect relationship. That's actually not. There's no such thing as a relationship. Whoever told you that because you get married, stuff going to be perfect. Nah, that's not even true. And I'd be skeptical if a relationship was so perfect. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's not gonna be perfect. You're gonna go through some things. It's especially after that honeymoon phase over, when you first get with somebody, everything peaches and cream. Y'all running around, y'all painting the town, so it ain't yeah, it takes a lot of work, man. A lot of hard work. But the biggest thing is communication. You have to have communication. Uh Communication is you treat people, and this any relationship, you treat people, you show people how to treat you. I don't fault people for who in it for them or who's interested. I fault people for who they entertain. And I don't really fault because I'm not a judgmental person, but what I'm trying to say is it's up to you to whatever relationships that you entertain. You know what I mean? Santa Claus could like you. If you choose to entertain Santa Claus, then that's on you. Santa Claus don't bring you no gifts. He bring you ashes. Then you mad. You didn't have to entertain Santa Claus. So, just I don't know, man. You just gotta put that work in, and you definitely have to communicate. Like if you don't have communication, you don't have nothing. And every day you ain't go. This is what I used to tell the kids in a relationship like this. When I was teaching, I used to tell my kids that we family. From that first day on, we family. So just understand, families don't always get along. Some days you're not gonna be my favorite person. Some days Mr. Hodge not gonna be your favorite person. But guess what? Tomorrow's a new day. We're gonna start over. The past is the past. If we have a bad day yesterday, when today get here, that bad day is forgotten about. You know what I mean? So you got to just keep that in mind. Like, you family. Families don't always see eye to eye, and that's a good thing. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I think we just got these tropes in our head about what a relationship is supposed to be. And I'm not saying nothing's wrong with that. That might be the relationship you want or you looking for. But if that's whatever you might have in your mind, like search high and low for it. Make sure that the person, whether it's the man or the female, they check off every box. Like, I don't know, man. Yeah, I just say communication. I do know, but I'm gonna stop right there.
No, that's fine. It's interesting that you said that. No, we'll have a sidebar. But I was explaining, communication it is important, and the response was that that still doesn't have anything to do with choice, and you're right. So you can communicate it, but it is up to each individual to choose to make sure that both people are accounted for in that discussion, that both people's needs are met, that both people, I could say I want to see you every day, but you could be like, well, I don't want to see you every day, right? And if that's what I need, I'll use this my whole thing. Like quality time is my love language. If you can't give me quality time every single day, then you're not the person for me. And by quality time, it doesn't necessarily mean a lot of time. I just need to know that you carved out some time in that day, especially to speak to me. Because if I can't see you and I'm not the type that wants to be around you all the time, then I definitely want to at least hear your voice. That's what stimulates me. That's what makes me feel like, oh, you do miss me, whatever. It has to be, either or, which words of affirmation is my second love language. And so explaining that to somebody who's acts of service, we speak different languages, but it would be my responsibility to make sure that you receive acts of service, just like it would be your responsibility to make sure that I receive the quality time or the words of affirmation. And the funny thing about me is I'm like that with everybody. It does not have to be a significant other. I'm like that with my friends. I'm like that with my family. And it's important to me. And if I don't get that, then I'm not going to feel the love. It's just that simple. And so I use the example, I spoke French when I was in school. Don't really speak it now. But a lot of my friends were taking Spanish. And so if I wanted to hear what they were saying or understand what they were saying, I would need a translator, or I would need that dictionary that translated whatever the words were that were being said. And so I think that we today don't go the extra mile to try to fulfill um, the people that we're in relationships with. It's only about what I need and not about what they need. And communication to me encompasses both. What do
Oh,
you
so
feel?
look, I agree 1,000%. We are totally selfish, and that's the hard thing. Let me back up because you talked about choices, and that's one of the things I teach my kids. Like, listen, your life gonna be based on the choices you make, bar none. Period. Point blank. Well, point blank. Period. However they say, your life gonna be based on the choices you make. Make good. I used to tell the kids that I taught. I call everybody my kids. My students, my kids. I used to tell them, listen, on your choices you make. Make good choices to put yourself in a good position. But I wanted to ask you a question. You said how the things you need in your love language. But let me ask you
Mhm.
this question. How many times, based off you know what you need, you know what you're looking for, how many times did you override what you was looking for and indulge in a relationship or indulge a person anyway, even though they showed you signs that they wasn't communicating or speaking the same love language that you spoke? How many times have you ever done that? Overread
Yeah,
over.
I think I've done that, but for me, it's sometimes you don't know. Like, let's take the French English, whatever, right? I could say parlez-vous français, and you could be like, what? And you don't go get the dictionary to find that out. And I keep on saying it, and you still never go get the dictionary. So yeah,
So
I might have
what
said
does
it.
that tell
Wait,
you though?
no,
What does
no,
that tell
let
you?
me finish answering your question. And so I could keep on saying it, and you never get the dictionary to find out. And I stay there until you finally get the dictionary. So yes, I've been in that scenario. Or I could say it and you don't get the dictionary to find out, and I roll too. Sometimes you don't know that the person doesn't understand because you didn't communicate what it was you understood. So yes, I've stayed in relationships that I shouldn't have stayed in way too long or far too long, hoping that the person would, make the extra effort. But I've also rolled out too and ended stuff because I'm like, I'm not staying this anymore because you had X amount of time to try to find out what it was that I need, even though I'm very clear and telling you what I need. Like you just heard me. This is in the book too. I'm like, I'm not putting anything into any other new serious relationship if you can't find the time for me. Period. That's it. That's my boundary. And it took me a long time to get here. My issue is that I would go back to something from the past that, hoping that it would be different because like hopeless romantic type thing. And that doesn't work either. So one of the things about the book, which you can get at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Walmart, and pretty much anywhere you can get digital copies, by the way, is that it's about relationships. And I learned that my relationships, like I said, are not just significant other. They're my relationships, period, with people. And far too long, I stayed in situations where I was not getting what I needed because I was the person who would always be calling. I would be the person, who would always check on them to see if they're good. What about me? Like, if we're in a relationship, it's give and take. And so, if you would do this for your significant other, but this person's been in your life far too long, some of the conversations we've had have been about that, right?
True.
And it's not that I know you care about me. And y'all, I will put this out here. There's been times where I didn't have money to buy medicine or pay a bill. Edmonds had my back
Hey, so
financially.
listen,
I
you
can't
know,
finish my statement.
yeah, but I stopped you because you know I don't like stuff like that,
I
right?
know, but you just got to
You
get
know
over
I
it.
don't like
I
stuff
know.
like
Yes,
that.
it don't matter, but just hear me out though, Edmund. I
Okay,
know you
go ahead.
don't like it. You never asked me for anything. I get that, but I just want y'all to know that I know that he loves me, but I didn't. Even with all that he ever did, that's not what I when I needed him, yes, financially he was there. But what I need in my relationships is different than just that. And it reminds me a lot of times of what parents do to their children, right? The parents who are always working, the parents who are always engaged, the parents who don't have time to spend quality time with their children. And then they wonder why they end up at my school. I work in a non-traditional, used to be alternative school, because the parents aren't doing what they need to do. To every relationship needs nurturing. Every single one. If the person's important to you, you got to find, we are creatures of habit. We got to find a way to spend the time that we need to spend in order to cultivate that relationship. And a lot of people don't do that. They'll put like 50,000, I'm saying, hours into this one, but then they'll only put like 5 into this one. If you're a parent, yep, it's your responsibility to cultivate that relationship. If you have a spouse, yep, it's your responsibility to cultivate that relationship. If you're only a child, meaning you just have parents and you're not in a relationship or you don't have children, it's still your responsibility to cultivate that relationships. Relationships don't stop. Those seeds need to continue to grow. In order for them to grow, they have to be watered. You can't just plant them and let them just be. It rains, but it don't rain every day. Sometimes you're gonna have to put some water on that, I'm saying, seed for it to grow. And I think that we just forget that sometimes, and only so into what it is that's important to us at that time, never thinking about the people who were there to watch you get to this point where you could sow it to somebody else. Okay, now you can speak at me.
Okay, so couple things here. So a couple things. So the reason I asked you that question is because, and it's a double-edged sword because I know some people, you talked about parents and you covered a lot. Some people gonna say like, I did a lot of stuff in my life, a lot of it. So, but my parents and those close to me, they never gave up on me. So that's one aspect. That's the double part of it. But the reason I ask, and I'll come back to that. But the reason I asked that you that question is because I feel like this, and this is just you know how I feel is that we all the signs, all the signs are there, all the flashing red lights are there this person may not be the best person for me to be in a, a, a relationship with. So what happens in my mind, and from some experiences I've had myself, we ignore all the flashing red lights. We run the stop sign, we run the red lights, and then when it doesn't work out, we're like, dang, why didn't it work out? But all the signs were there. And some of us are, like you said, hopeless romantics or ever, nobody wants to fail at anything, but all the signs are there. So sometimes we have to learn to walk away. So I feel like we put ourselves in a lot of bad situations. The warning signs be right there. The cliff, the lights flashing, the sirens going off, cliff. What do? We keep going. The next thing you know, we done walked off the cliff. So, and so I feel like we got to do a better job in like reading the signs, not only just reading it's there, even no matter how we feel a person, because human beings, we creatures of habit, like you said, and we're emotional beings. So that takes a lot. But you said something else that I wanted to address too. But we got to start paying attention. Number one, we got to start paying attention to these signs. Number two, even if it's going to hurt us, sometimes we got to walk away. Like Kenny Rogers said, you got to know when to hold up. You got to know when to walk away. You got to know when to fold them. You just, you got to cash your chips in. But you talked about, inner relationships from the past. So two things came to mind. You can't steal second base with your foot on first. I think
you're right.
We look back at the past, understand that why some of us do. It's just me. I feel like we look to the past because those are our comfort zones. So anytime you talk about growth or you talk about progression, so which is what I think life is about, progression and evolution. You cannot progress while you stand to your past as a stepping stone to your future, right? But a lot of times we revisit our past. Now, let me ask you this question, and this is rhetorical. Why am I looking at my past or going back to my past? If it didn't work out in my past, that should be telling me right there. It's probably a good sign that it's not going to work out in the future. But again, like I started this segment, we override all the warning signs. It didn't work out before, but I'm still gonna go back to this past for whatever reason. Maybe the person know what to say. Maybe there's sex game or whatever it may be. They rub you the right way. They tell you what you want. Whatever the case may be. But like, we gotta stop looking at the past. We gotta stop revisiting things. We gotta let stuff go. And I know that's hard. And it's easier said than done. Let me say that. Like, listen, I'm not the end all be all. I don't proclaim to have all the answers. Like I tell my son, I can best tell you about myself. I like to speak from personal experiences because I can't tell you about nobody else. But from my vantage point, my view, perspective is everything. So that's why I'm speaking from. I don't want anybody to think that I'm out here saying all this. I got all my stuff together. I know everything. That's far from the case. I'm a work in progress too. You know what I mean? But behind every lesson, there's a blessing. You know what I mean? We that, man, a lot, but we just gotta find a way. Again, I talked about the business, getting a mentor. Find somebody that you could connect with, that's good, that you could just maybe use as a sounding board. They might just understand you better than somebody else. But we gotta accountability. We gotta hold ourselves. We put ourselves in a lot of bad positions. You know what I mean? And again, evolution and progression. If it ain't working in the past, like, move on.
Can I say it is easier said than done? And I'll be honest, like, you'll find out even from the things that I did in my book. I realized through writing this book, a lot of mine was learned behavior. There's not been one person in my life that has really, so my mom had my back, right? There were times that my brother did as well. But there were a lot of years where I was hurt mentally, physically, verbally, and no one was there to protect me. And so I know I got myself stuck. I talk about that, the scripture that says that the dog returns to vomit, food turns to folly, a dog returns to vomit, or it might be backwards. And I was that person, that food returning to the vomit, the dog returned to vomit, which is, when you hear it, nasty. Why would you want to return to regurgitation or whatever? And yet it was still not enough for me to stop doing what I was doing, because it is comfort. It was known, but it was also completely lonely. No one had my back when I was going through this stuff. No one was like, hey, you good? Because I also had mental health issues. So there were times where I did not want to live. There were times where I wanted to commit suicide. There were times where the anxiety was so bad, the fear of what might happen to me was so bad. But because I'm a big girl, right? People don't look at me and be like, "Oh, she gets afraid." You try getting hit by relatives. You try getting called names and stuff over and over and over again. It changes your psyche. It changes your mental. And for me, the person that was there was a person that I shouldn't have been involved in. You all get the book, you'll hear that. And so there's probably going to be some shame there, maybe even for the rest of my life for my actions. But the worst part is that that person still has my heart, even through all the stuff that I went through because he was the person that was there when no one else was. And so you're right. We should roll. We should. One of the reasons why I wrote the book, one, I shared on the podcast with my co-author. I was like, it was in the muck and the mire that the prodigal son came to himself in the midst of the mess. And so, although I'm not completely out of the mess, I'm gonna be honest about that. Um, and that means on different levels because people always think that you mean physical. No, I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about just in general. But I am coming to myself, and I'm taking uh, pride in the small victories. Nope, may not stop doing this, but I stopped doing that. May not, see the person every week, but it'll be months down the road or whatever. Not, or it may not be. I'm just using this example, like some people turn to alcohol. It might not be a drink every day, but maybe it might be damn two drinks. You know what I'm saying? That's never been my issue or whatever. But everybody has their process. And I think that sometimes when we're not in it or it's not affected us, we could be very judgmental about how somebody else finds their way out. And so I just started telling people to pray for me. Like it's nothing you can, as many people as I've counseled in my life, and the counseling that I still go through to find out why I started making the decisions that I made. It's nothing you can say that's going to make me change or stop or do or turn. Only God is going to help me get to that place where I'm completely healed. And so people look at me, they think that I'm healed, and I'm like, I'm not. I'm still hurting. I'm still broken. I'm finding my way out of the stuff that I made modest. Like nobody else put me there. And I never, justified how I got there. I'll tell you what I did to get to that point, but it's nobody's fault but mine. However, there's some things that have happened in my life that I've learned to, I'm saying, do things to protect myself. And for real, I could be far worse. I know people who stop learning. I don't know anybody else who's gone through sexual abuse, molestation, and date rape and still been able to acquire a master's degree and get a doctorate. I don't know anybody else. But I have heard of stories of people who stopped learning because of that stuff. So yeah, for me to take that and end up in the place that I was in, although there's shame about that, I'm still really proud of myself because I'm still kicking in spite of all the things, the bad decisions. But you're absolutely right. We should not return to our vomit. We should not go back. And I'm hoping one day I'll be that person. But am I that person today? Nope. And I'll be honest about that. And I think that that's what Random But Real for me is also me. It's giving me a platform to be able to share my truth, whether people like it or don't like it. I call myself out on my own stuff before you ever will. Like God was gracious to me. He put me out there in the street. I put myself out there. Now it's in print for everybody to read. People feel certain kinds of way about that. But I've also learned, and when more people read it, we're going to start having these couch conversations where we can have intimate conversations about some of the things that are in the book. But I guarantee you'll learn something from it, not just about me, but maybe about yourself. The stuff that you don't want to. It's a mirror. You don't get mad for no reason. If I jack you or I hurt you, or I hurt your feelings, like something internally, emotionally, it's usually because it's a mirror because it's something that you're not doing or you should be doing, or it's a reflection of yourself. And so I hope that people through Random But Real, the podcast, through the book, 21 Days, through my music, I hope that people get to see reflections of themselves and don't stay there. I don't want anybody to do the stuff that I've done and not come out of it a better person. So that's kind of
Well,
where I am. Any last words that you would like to share with the people?
no, I just want to say I commend you. I heard you say a lot. And I, like you said, one of the key takeaways, I just heard you say that you growing. Like change ain't gonna happen overnight, but it sounds like you taking the right steps to heal, which is important. And I think that's like something I learned. People who look like me and you or may share struggles. Mental health is big, man. We got to start like, listen. I used to think, sometimes, or it may still have mental health had a negative stigma on it, right? So
Mhm.
I'm gonna speak. I've been to see a therapist like one, two, maybe three times. I seen a therapist. I saw a therapist when I was a little kid, when I was young. But forced to then. But on my own as an adult, I'm trying to remember. I don't want to lie to the people. I think maybe three or four times I've seen a therapist, and it actually helps, man. Just because they're neutral. And I didn't want to say this, but you said some things, and like my degree is in psych, and people always think when your degree is in psych that you're going to analyze them. But one of the reasons why you use the term learned behavior, that's one of our terms in psych. One of the reasons why I love psychology is because we do a lot of observation. It's not analyzing people, it's the study of the human mind and behavior. So we look at behaviors like that's why you always hear me say, the mouth would say anything. I look at people's behaviors. My wife, my wife would tell you, anybody that know me, I'm very observant, right? I don't really say a lot. Like I talk to you, I talk to people that I'm comfortable with, but really, I don't really say a lot. I just watch. You know what I mean? And it's probably from my training, but that's the beauty of psych, like man, just understanding people behaviors. You know what I mean? It's one thing to say like, oh yeah, I did this, but why did you do it? What's the reason? You understand? If you don't understand the reason or know why you did something, it's probably going to be hard for you to correct that behavior. You know what I
Right.
mean? So, and then a lot of the things that happen, it's always like, let's say, man, you get in an argument. We might be arguing about apples, but it really underlying it might be it's probably about oranges. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So when things manifest themselves, like you just got to know this. But that's why I love psych. But everybody's different. And my last words is I want to say I don't know everything. I'm not going to proclaim to know everything. Anybody that tells you they know everything, the person with all the answers more than likely misunderstood all the questions. You dig what I'm saying? So I understand that I don't know everything. I'm just speaking again from personal perspective because that's what I could most tell you about the experiences that I went through. Your journey, the next person's journey might be a little bit different from mine. So that's why I observe, I listen, and I can just you can learn from everybody. But it's big that we start having these conversations, these courageous, these honest conversations, man. We definitely. So I want to thank you for having me on. We got to start talking about these things, man. Mental health, and it's not just mental health. Like if you need help, yeah, if you need help, get help. But like again, that's one of them things that's easy to say because talking to somebody like, well, I'm gonna sit on somebody's couch for and tell them that person don't know me. How they gonna help fix me? But the thing about that is they don't have a dog in the race, so they could see something that you possibly don't see. You know what I mean? And they coming from a different perspective. You know what I mean? So that's where it helps, and you're able to get stuff off your chest. But last words, thank you once again. It's been a pleasure knowing you. Even though we
You act
always
like I'm
don't
about
see.
to go away.
Oh, I thought you said, but I'm just saying, even
We
though we
are
don't
going
see.
off the show, but the way you said pleasure knowing me, like this the last time we
Oh
talking.
no, 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 no. I just meant like it's been a good journey. Like and always this is what I do want to say. Always look inward first, man. Like, and I had to learn this. Maybe you guys out there already know, but I had to learn this, man. You gotta look inward first, man. We got to like, man. When you look inward better, when you what Michael Jackson say, the man in the mirror. When you face the man in the mirror and you honest with the man in the mirror,
Mhm.
man, your life becomes so much easier. You know what I mean? Like I was talking to, we got I won't mention his name, but we got a mutual friend. Um, and I was talking to him, and I was telling him, man, once I was honest with myself, and I put all the cards on the table, man, it was like a big burden was lifted off of me. You know what I mean? So it's like I live life carefree, not carefree like that, but carefree like I'm honest now. Before I used to be lying all the time or lying to get my lying when it was convenient for me to get what I wanted. You know what I mean? But once you put that behind you, oh man, at least for me, I feel free, man. I feel so.
That's cool. Well, I appreciate you. I love you a lot, and I do want to say though, like Emma and I used to do like Facebook lives. We would be out at
Oh
restaurants and
yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
and that's kind of what started this. So we'll see. I'm gonna call you after this, run some things by you, but. I appreciate the opportunity to talk. We always have good conversations when we can like talk to each other,
Yeah.
when we
I
can
love
track each other down.
I love
Um,
you more, and thank you for having me. I love you more. Like it's been a pleasure. You know what I mean. I love you more, and I thank you for the opportunity. You know,
you are
we do
most
have good conversation though, and it just be just off the top. You know what I mean. So,
Yep,
you
this
know,
wasn't planned. Y'all can find me. I'm One Singing Lady, the numeral one on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. YouTube is spelled out ONESINGINGLADY. So YouTube.com /One Singing Lady. You can find this podcast and all my other podcasts again on Podvine, Amazon Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Anchor.fm. And
what is
please
that? Anger? Who?
Anchor,
Oh,
ANCHOR,
Anchor. Anchor. Okay.
Anchor.fm.
Okay.
And please, no reason not to. It's a lot of different platforms. So whichever one you actually like, go ahead and do that. And you can get my music on Pandora and Spotify and pretty much anywhere you can, Amazon, anywhere you can download. So I appreciate you all support. Please check out the website, lisalgilliam.com. And if you get the book at, one of those places, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, or Walmart right now. They're going to be in additional stores. 21 Days by Lisa L. Gilliam and Tracy M. Worley. Please, if you read it, go ahead and put, or when you read it, go ahead and put a comment on my website guestbook page, because there are times where you get discouraged in this type of work, and sometimes we need encouragement too. So this is a place where we can go back and see how we've encouraged you. I know I'm not the only one who's gone through what I've gone through. Like we said, the book was not a planned thing. Both of us thought we were going to do our autobiographies first, and God made it so through the process we would write this book about relationships. And like I said, it's not just significant other, but relationships in general. You learn a lot about how and what people have experienced, how it shapes them. And so I know you'll learn something new, and we can't wait to hear what it is that you have to say. Thank you again, Edmond. We appreciate you. And One Singing Lady out. Have a
All
good
right.
day, you all.
You too. Bye.
Please note, any comments made on this LLG Random But Real podcast by myself, Lisa One Singing Lady Gilliam, or my guests are our own views. They are not to be made or determine an actual professional or in lieu of an actual professional. If you relate to any of the topics, please seek professional help. Contact a therapist, a psychologist, any other mental health professional, or if it's an emergency, please call 911. Thank you so much for tuning in.